Welcome everybody to Scaling Global Education and Ethically Aligned AI Deployment. I'm Bob Royce and happy to host this part 2 of a series on how to develop a successful AI strategy that supports human flourishing. We will, today's agenda, we'll do some short introductions and kind of set the stage, and then I will turn it over to Miriam Chickering, CEO of NextGenU, that will tell you about their journey with generative AI, and I think you'll be very excited about it. It's a really great story. And then Miriam and Daniel Heck, our AI ethicists, will have some discussions around the work that NextGenU did with their team to integrate AI ethically and get the results that they have. And then we'll open it up for Q&A and questioning. As I said, add your questions to the queue at any time. And so why don't we start with, we'll stop sharing for a minute and go ahead, and Dan and Miriam, if you would come on video and please introduce yourselves. Let me start with you, Dan.
Yeah, that's great. So as the AI ethicist here at TUG, I'm primarily working on the ethical management component of our AI readiness offering, and I'm really excited to share part of that with all of you today through my conversation with Miriam and the conversation we have afterwards.
Hi, it's good to be with you. My name is Miriam Chickering. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at NextGenU.org.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Dan. And I am Bob Royce, co-founder of the Understanding Group, and I'll go ahead and get us started here with just a quick introduction to who we are and set the stage. The Understanding Group is a consulting firm that focuses on people, empowering people to make complex things clear. And we love to work with people to evaluate, architect, and design complex digital places that are good for people. And what we mean by places, that digital places made of information, are things like the intranet, the digital workplace that the Ford Foundation uses. We've worked with them for the past over 6 years, helping them structure a place to make it easier for their team to work and serve people globally, or organizing all the functionality of an app like the Ford Pass app, digital mobility, or integrating many, many different websites into one place, like the Human Resource Portal at the University of Michigan, or the International Gateway, the Curtin University. And we are happy to talk to you about any of your digital needs. You can reach us at clarity@understandinggroup.com. So to set the stage for what's going on, AI is already all around us. Whether we're taking a trip or conducting a search or leaving a memo or browsing photos, we are in an era of intelligent machines, which is going to change how work gets done and values created. And there's a lot of energy in the conversation around the future of AI and whether we should be scared or excited or both about what's coming. We hope that by the end of this webinar that you'll be excited at the potential generative AI has for you and your organization's capability to create value, as well as being aware of the work it's going to take to harness this new power for your organization and in your work environment. So to understand a little bit about the energy behind all this hype, let's take a brief look at the history of technology. The ability to leverage technology is a fundamental sign of intelligence. And our most powerful technology is language, the primary tool that we use to organize and make sense of the world. And for millennia, we have been creating ever more powerful and complicated machines to help us work with language, from books to libraries to the World Wide Web. And until now, our machines have basically helped us work with the language that we create. The intelligence is human. The machines simply help us distribute and work with our creation. But now, large language models not only help us manage our language and communication products, but they can work with language directly to do work. And as we'll see shortly, they can even help us develop curriculum. So ChatGPT, this is their announcement from November 30th, 2022. So it's just a year ago yesterday. It's only been out a year, but there's already some good, well-designed studies, such as this one involving the Boston Consulting Group, that show the benefit of generative AI, that teams gain with generative AI. And in particular, you see in these results that not only did they got more done and got it done faster, but there was this leveling effect where the junior people gained more benefit from it than the senior people, which is a really interesting thing. But using these models is not without risk. They're not like a calculator where 6 times 8 is always 48. Language is different. There's no correct way to say a particular thing. And so these models are known to respond in ways that sound good, but aren't quite right. In general, there's this jagged frontier of capabilities where it does impressive things on the one hand that you wouldn't expect it to do, but on the other hand, it's unable to do things that you would expect it to be able to do quite readily. And so there's a risk associated with generative AI. It can sometimes lead to worse performance if you rely on it inappropriately. It's a powerful tool that needs to be managed. And so the team at NextGenU worked through to manage those risks and harness that power with 2 core strategies. First and foremost, they focused on the people and the process issues related to the transformation that they were taking on. They were very intentional about how they worked to manage these risks and how they worked to integrate AI. They did the work to understand what it can and can't do. And then they, first and foremost, they centered on cultivating human agency. They enhanced the amount of agency that people had on their team in the product, not decreased it using these machines. They communicated with radical honesty, and they reflected on the whole workflows. And as you'll hear in a minute, the benefits they gained were way beyond what we saw from Boston Consulting Group, right? 10, 20% is good. It's a real substantive gain, not to be sneezed at. But what this team has produced is really fantastic. And we think that this work on team alignment is a very key ingredient to that exceptional success. And it also put them in a position, as they reflected on the workflows, to really come up with the ideal way to solve the problem. And one of the ways to manage the risk associated with the way these machines operate is to structure things the way that Maggie Appleton shows here in this slide from her wonderful talk, Squish and Structure. To basically take your problem and break it down into a series of smaller steps, small observable outputs, little reasoning engines, because these language models are good general purpose natural language processors, able to summarize and extract and compare and contrast and do things. And in this way, and then you'll see how this strategy was incorporated in some of the ways that NextGenU organizes those things. It's an excellent way to manage what's going on and to enhance the team. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miriam. I just love this story because I started my career as a teacher, and I know how important curriculum is, and I know how hard it is to produce good curriculum. So Miriam, I'm going to stop sharing and let you go ahead and share directly so you can draw the slides as you wish.
Thank you so much, Bob. It's great to be here with you today and with all of our listeners. We've been integrating AI for 2 years, and that process has been refined through our year-long collaboration with the Understanding Group. We've had many meetings together, and your framework has been pivotal in enhancing our approach to AI and in helping us ensure that our AI integration aligns with our quality and ethical commitments. So thank you for partnering with us. At NextGenU, we aim to democratize education globally, focusing first on health professional education and teacher training in STEM education. Our collaborators have included Grand Challenges, the Pan American Health Organization, and the World Bank. The project we'll focus on today, STEPS, is funded by the Global Partnership for Education, Knowledge, and Innovation Exchange, a joint endeavor with the International Development Research Centre, Canada. At NextGenU.org, we provide over 1 million monthly learning sessions to users in every country completely for free. And over 2,000 institutions use our materials every quarter. About half of our users are in North America, and the other half are in the global South. Our courses span public health, medicine, nursing, STEM education, and more. We'll email all of the listeners the show notes after the webinar, and you can refer to them for more information and hyperlinks to our course catalog and our various initiatives. Today, our case study, the STEPS project, focuses on elevating STEM education in primary schools across Benin, Cameroon, and the DRC, enhancing teacher training and student performance in math and science. We had to navigate a complex array of challenges. Initially, we anticipated finding appropriate open access materials that we could adapt and curate. However, after an exhaustive search, we found less than half of the materials that we needed. Some of the teachers in our project reported they didn't have access to any science textbooks. Others reported textbooks that were more than 20 years old. And teachers shared that the textbooks did not have enough information to answer their students' questions. It soon became apparent that all three countries needed new, up-to-date, highly localized science curricula for grades 1 to 5. This is a big challenge. It forced us to expand our thinking and make an enormous leap from content curation to content creation. We initially aimed to develop 4 universal science lessons. AI integration combined with 10% additional funding from NextGenU empowered us to create 634 science lessons, allowing us to develop comprehensive, highly localized curricula for grades 1 to 5 in each country, representing a 158-fold increase in content creation compared to our original target. Encouraged by our success, we are now exploring opportunities to replicate this model in other contexts, aspiring to create comprehensive, localized curricula for more countries across the globe. At this point, you may be asking, how could these gains be achieved while maintaining quality? We'll get to that in just a moment. Initial data from our research study indicate that 95% of teachers feel confident teaching the STEPS materials, 98% are likely or very likely to continue using the materials, and 100% reported being very satisfied or satisfied with the STEPS training. Of course, our teachers and our projects are very kind, so we dug a little deeper in this data, and were reassured when we noticed that the percentage of very satisfied teachers increased as the project progressed. Teachers loved being able to contribute to the materials and interact with the research team, telling us what they needed in their classrooms. The solution we developed to create the STEPS materials has been adapted to guide all knowledge creation at NextGenU. From primary school materials to PhD for our public health initiative, where we train global health professionals, these enhanced workflows allow us to pursue many projects concurrently and have shortened the cycle from creation to review, creating efficiency throughout our team and for our most expensive labor, our subject matter experts. Ensuring accuracy and relevance in our materials is our top priority. We take safety and quality very seriously. This process involves a collaboration between instructional designers, AI agents, and diverse subject matter experts. It starts with detailed inputs to the AI, including prompts, templates, and source materials to ensure quality outputs. After AI generation, the content goes through many stages. First, an instructional design, then peer and team lead reviews, culminating with thorough evaluation by a group of subject matter experts. For our STEP science lessons, this included anthropologists, linguists, STEM scientists, educationalists, curriculum developer specialists, health professionals, school administrators, and teachers. Before we get into the project cycle, let's take a moment to look at prompt development. Prompts are first developed by ensuring the AI agent understands key concepts like Bloom's taxonomy and inquiry-based pedagogy. After it's equipped with the necessary background, we task the AI with related activities. The prompt is tested many times, and the final prompt is then added to a prompt library. Prompts are continuously refined and updated, and follow-on prompts are developed to assist in creating complex knowledge products. When creating an entire course, such as those you can access from the nextgenu.org website, we use a process that looks like this. To integrate AI, we look at each step of the process to see where we can create efficiency, and we've identified places to use AI at every step of the cycle. The AI tools reduce the time frame of each project, making it easier to maintain volunteer interest, thus further reducing cost. What used to take us weeks or months now takes us hours or days. Implementing AI tools has markedly transformed our organization, streamlining processes and enhancing our team's capabilities. This integration has positively impacted our internal workflow and extended benefits to our partners. As a result, we've produced a greater volume of vital content, effectively addressing the urgent educational needs of our stakeholders in STEM and health professional education. Building on these outcomes, our next steps involve expanding our reach, particularly in the realms of medical and nursing education, setting a new standard for accessible, high-quality online learning. NextGenU prioritizes open communication and encourages its staff to voice concerns and offer suggestions when using AI tools. This approach has led to a streamlined and often enjoyable process for our team and our subject matter experts. Now let's hear from a NextGenU team member about her firsthand experience with AI integration.
I'm really excited. I'm all for it because I feel like the bounds that my team can reach, it's so much higher now. I feel like we can do so much more because when I started here, everything was done without AI. So I had to create outcomes one by one, and then I had to do all the guidance one by one. And while I enjoyed it, I would take maybe like a week to do a full course of outcomes. Now we can do that in like less than an hour with the AI. And now we're exploring we're exploring creating the flashcards, creating mini notebooks for students, and creating diagram booklets and everything. I'm really excited because it can increase the quality that we give out to students and also increase the amount that we are able to give to students. So I'm really excited. I'm just trying to encourage my team to not be afraid of it.
Using AI tools with specific templates significantly standardizes our content and reduces cognitive load for students beyond what's usually possible with human effort alone. The cost savings from AI are notable, enabling us to invest more in subject matter experts and improve material quality and support. Plus, we're reallocating these savings to add more case studies and educational resources, assisting students in absorbing and applying their knowledge effectively. Let's zoom in and explore how AI cuts the time it takes to complete individual tasks. Consider this. It used to take a week for our team members to draft initial course structures and learning outcomes. Now with AI tools, it takes an hour. For activities, drafting is slashed from 3 days to 4 hours. Multiple choice questions, we've cut the time from 2 weeks to 3 days. On average, we see a 70% reduction in cost per project. We need fewer team members for each initiative, allowing us to undertake more projects simultaneously. We're not just saving money, but also expanding our reach and impact more effectively than ever before. In 2023, compared to the previous year, our instructional design team worked 16% more hours. However, combined with the AI tools, it led to a 225% increase in course updates and 139% increase in new course and book creation. Here's how this efficiency unfolded. Tasks were completed swiftly and effectively. Workflows were streamlined, saving time and reducing complexity. Certain roles saw significant improvements in output, and overall, our team's productivity increased. Some team members experienced higher efficiency gains than others, demonstrating AI's varied impact across different roles. AI has become an indispensable ally in our pursuit to democratize global education. Its role in digitizing educational content is just the beginning. Digitization of education content is a crucial step towards its demonetization. AI's ability to streamline content creation, translation, and distribution processes dramatically lowers costs, making quality education affordable and accessible. AI tools facilitate the customization of educational content to suit diverse cultural, linguistic, and learning needs, thus upholding the principle of education as a universal right. But the transformative potential of AI extends further. AI grading systems can provide immediate, consistent feedback, freeing educators to focus more on teaching and less on administrative tasks. Personalized AI tutoring represents a future where every student receives individualized instruction. This level of personalization in public education was once a distant dream, but now it is within our grasp. Our commitment at NextGenU is to harness the power of AI, not merely as a technological advancement, but as a transformative force for good. The pressing need and undeniable urgency to address educational inequities drives our adoption of AI technology. It is a stark injustice that children in our stakeholder countries lack access to quality educational materials, and that health professional education remains prohibitively expensive and sometimes substandard. This reality is not just a challenge, but a call to action for all of us. AI is not merely a tool. Its use is a response to a moral imperative to act decisively and at scale. By leveraging AI, we strive to rectify these injustices, making high-quality education not only accessible, but equitable. In this endeavor, we seek partners to expand the STEPS project to more countries and complete our medical and nursing curricula. This sense of urgency and commitment to justice fuels our journey with AI at NextGenU, guiding us towards a future where everyone can learn, grow, and thrive in a dynamically evolving world.
Awesome.
So just a reminder that there's questions and answers following this next session, so please feel free to add your questions to the queue.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and as we transition into this conversation between us, Miriam, it's also an invitation to a conversation for everyone else here after that, and I hope that this is the beginning of lots of conversations. But I want to start by thanking you, Miriam, and like the whole fantastic team at NextGenU for the vitally important work that you all are doing. And thank you for the deeply motivating presentation too. For me, thinking and reflecting with you on your organization's processes over the last 18 months has been really inspiring and clarifying for me as I've refined the team alignment framework, which is part of our ethical management framework, which we're going to use to structure our discussion today. And one of my main goals in life right now is to support your continued scaling of your work in terms of what you're doing directly at NextGenU, and by drawing out the insights from what you're doing that will help other people multiply their ability to do good things well too. And so to start, this is the big picture on our ethical management framework, and we're going to talk about team alignment because I think that your case study highlights this aspect of it especially well right now. And there are three components. Bob mentioned these already. Cultivating human agency, which involves helping people make good choices among good things that they're able to understand, and especially cultivating the agency of people whose agency is most constrained right now. Communicating authentically is always important in management. And I think currently it's one of the core things that differentiates what humans can do from what AI can do. Only we can disclose our experiences and communicate them and then align human society and human values and things like that. And doing those things and building a culture that helps do that helps people reflect on their whole workflows in ways that you've done in such a profound way. And so in this conversation, I'm going to dig in on some of these a little bit more deeply. And so my first question for you around cultivating human agency is, how does AI relate to human agency inside of your organization in terms of both the threats and the opportunities that you've been managing?
I think there's a real balance between opportunities and safeguards that need to be put into place when you're thinking about doing an AI integration. But I just want to start with, how do you prepare your team for this? And the way that we did it at NextGenU was a really responsive approach to what our team wanted. So we have brilliant people on our team, and we have one-to-ones every month. And I often ask, if you could do anything, what would you do? Or what would you like to be doing on the team? And one day, one of our team members said, I'm really interested in innovation, and I'd like to start an innovation team. And so we put aside safe time for that, dedicated time. We put a little team together. And this really became a place where people could play. So much of our work has extreme rigor because we're providing sometimes healthcare content to a global audience, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. So we needed to separate out time where the team could really try a lot of new things and be very creative with no risk. And so that was really important as fostering play. Then once we decided to do the integration and they started releasing GPT-3 and 3.5, that's when sort of everything flipped to, oh, this is a nice little toy. How can we use it? To, oh my goodness, this might take my job. And so it became very important that we created security. So I'm a nurse, that's my background. And I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so one thing that we told our team when we decided we were going to really pursue the AI integration is I was able to tell them there won't be any layoffs. And I built a lot of trust with my team, so they believed me when I said that. And that was really key for us. I think another thing was envisioning the future. So, the team would be like, well, what happens when we finish the med school? What happens when we finish the nursing school? And what happens if we, do new science textbooks for all the countries in the world? Are we then going to lose our jobs? And I said to them, no, because at that point, we're going to go from a content creation organization to a consulting organization, and we're going to work with these 2,000 institutions that use our materials every 3 months and help them implement with high fidelity. And so I think that was really key for the team, is the vision casting for what does the future look like. Another thing that's a management piece is that our work pace increased. So we try to limit everyone to, generally no more than 40 hours a week, but we ended up doing some hiring. We had 16% more hours of human time over the year. And so it wasn't this empty promise of, no, you're not going to lose your job. It was everyone could feel the push towards production and how much more we were trying to create for our stakeholders. And then again, just creating no-fail environments. So we didn't take our big contracts or any of our contracts and say, oh, let's practice using AI in the context of this contract. Instead, what we did is we met the requirements of our contracts, and then we said, what else could we produce for our partners with the AI? And so reminding the team, we've already done what we said we were going to do. Now let's look at the needs in the world, and we get to do that because we're a nonprofit. Let's look at the needs and how can we do more and use the AI to do more. And so being really thoughtful about setting up these no-fail scenario was really crucial to the AI integration.
Thank you. I love everything about that response. I just found a few key aspects of it. One was this within your own team as core stakeholders, helping them express their own agency and be aligned on what you were doing. But then drawing together these broader stakeholders and groups as well. And I think what I'd love to explore in a little more depth are the way you've managed to connect stakeholders at sort of global, powerful funders and stakeholders with kids who need textbooks that really expand their own agency, their own experience. I think those are ultimately the most important stakeholders in your organization. So I'd love to hear how the same deep sensitivity you have to cultivating the agencies of the stakeholders within the organization also relates to how you've brought together these other stakeholders.
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. So, that's what I wake up at 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and think about are the kids, the 10,000 kids in the 3 countries who are immediately using the materials, but now the materials have already had uptake, sometimes at a national level, and so it's many more. And the beautiful thing about what we're doing is the textbooks are highly localized. So the kids are not learning about North American birds or Lake Superior. They're learning about Lake Tanganyika. They're learning about their close environment, which is incredibly empowering. And so I think having appropriate hyper-localized materials increases the agency of the children. And the STEPS project, beyond that, we have the health profession students. They're receiving enriched content that strengthens their clinical decision-making skills. So we see more agency there as well. Even from a patient perspective, as more healthcare professionals are available, that means healthcare is more accessible. So we're increasing patient agency. And then when we look at our partners, we're being able to stretch those dollars that they're investing and help them achieve their missions as well. But I just want to mention that effective AI integration isn't just about your beneficiaries. It's about the full realm of your stakeholders and your networks and your close networks. And so one thing that was really important to me was to bring our governing board along. I got to do a blog with Dr. Lumberg, who's on our board with Cancer Commons, and engaging our broader community, just writing a paper recently with Dr. Kaplan and Dr. Frank, the organization's founder, on AI and its ethical use. And so I think really looking at it from a comprehensive way, not doing it in a vacuum, but really doing this in community with a large group of people who are all getting to speak into the situation. And so there's a collective decision-making is absolutely key.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that I can just telescope from, biggest social scales down to a kid in a classroom and see that you've encompassed their interests so deeply in so many ways. So thank you for that. So there's another piece of this that I want to highlight, which is the way you share your ethos as a team. And I think this is here where cultivating human agency, both as individuals and as groups in ethical ways, comes together with authentic communication. And so I'd love to hear more about what is your organization's ethos and how you keep it centered through practices with integrity.
So our organization's ethos is really anchored in our shared values and our mission-driven focus. Our shared values are very crucial because we have a multinational team from various religious and educational backgrounds. So we've been able to unite around the core values of radical honesty, radical kindness, thoughtful questioning, thoughtful listening, and efficient beneficence. These principles guide our actions and interactions, ensuring we move together with purpose and respect. We're mission-driven in that we're dedicated to reducing suffering, and this particular team, we all believe that the best way we can do this is through education. And that really drives us in using the AI tools. And then our commitment to our values and mission, especially during challenging phases like AI integration, ensures we stay focused and maintain our integrity. In essence, our ethos combines shared values and a strong mission focus, guiding us with integrity through our endeavors. And I just want to mention that it's a practice and a learning process. We're not finished with AI integration. We don't perfectly enact all of our values. We definitely still have a lot of work to do.
Great. There's a genuine humility and a genuine gentleness that goes along with the intense drivenness, I think, of your team. And I think it's I love the way you managed to bring those together. Okay. So moving into communication more broadly, this authentic communication has, I think, so many areas of relevance to AI integration and management. But I want to focus on this broadest scope question for our conversation today. So how are you cultivating an environment where authentic self-expression is valued, especially as it relates to people's personal goals and to the team's goals?
Well, first of all, as it relates to our teachers particularly, we never feel like a project is completely finalized or completely done. It's always an iterative process where we incorporate feedback. And it's absolutely crucial to make mechanisms available for that type of feedback. Within our team, we have anonymous forums that I talk about twice a month at our all hands meetings, and encourage our team members to respond if they need to anonymously without any fear of repercussions. We have regular open meetings in smaller groups where team members are encouraged to share their experiences and perspectives. And I think leadership's role is very important to ensure leaders create a space where fears and reservations can be surfaced and heard and responded to. And then we prioritize safety and honesty. So recognizing that a safe environment is one where radical honesty leads to early problem identification, resulting in better outcomes. Collectively, these strategies, we believe, are fostering trusting, communicative, and supportive workplace.
Great. And part of what I'd like to highlight here as we round to the final section of our conversation and begin the conversation with the rest of our friends and guests here is that these elements of cultivating human agency and communication and building trust through demonstrating patterns of trustworthiness, I think, are actually crucial elements to the kinds of success that you saw. They aren't nice things to have. They're actually, I think, crucial enablers of what you were able to do. And so that all sets the stage for you to reflect on the whole workflow. And I think one of the surprising effects of this technology is that it can automate all kinds of things. Bob showed that sort of jagged edge of what it can do, and that jagged edge is always moving. And so being able to reflect on the whole workflow enables you to find a lot of efficiencies that also feel good for people and that they feel meaningful, and where their sense of meaning in their work isn't lost. And so to just start digging into this, and I think this is where I just know from talking to you and the analysis we've done here at Tug on your work, like you put an enormous amount of intensive effort into cultivating this and into meeting with folks and things like that, and into understanding the workflows and analyzing them and caring about how people are experiencing them. But I want to highlight just the end result of that, which is, so what does it feel like for people to integrate AI agents into your team's workflows in terms of both the process and the outcome?
Well, I always look for delight with the team. So what we want and what we're moving towards, I hope, is an AI integration team who evaluates each team member's workflows and then kind of does a lot of pre-work to identify where the pain points exist without the AI tool, and then defines a very clear process, gets on a call, a one-to-one meeting with the team member, and then walks them through and shows them how the AI can relieve that pain point. And what we're really going for is that moment of delight where the team member's like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I don't have to do this the old way anymore. And that delight is really important. And what it does is it kind of fuels the next stage, which is what I call patience. So we go for delight, patience, and then sort of integration. And it's a gradual process. So regular meetings and workshops are key to ensuring everyone adapts comfortably and effectively. Early successes with AI instill motivation and help team members overcome challenges. The initial positive experiences reinforce a collective purpose and desire that drives us closer to our mission. Integrating AI is a balanced process of finding joy and efficiency maintaining patience through adaptation, and learning from each step to advance our shared mission.
And I love that in patience, right? There's a lot of like there is real joy and there is real delight, and you can see it sort of in your face and in team members' face. And there are real challenges and there are real risks, and I love that patience sort of balances that. And I know that there's a lot contained in the work of the patience that you're describing too. So I think all of this together were crucial components of how you were able to achieve good goals through good workflows. And I think as this technology continues to mature very rapidly, there's constantly new developments in the AI field. The practices of the moment, I think, are going to rather quickly, they're going to shift, and they're going to constantly shift, which is why you need these things to sort of stay on the ball. But if you're able to do that, and you have an aligned team, I think this is one of the enduring keys for if we are going to integrate this technology in meaningful ways in our own lives and in society. And so I think you've really touched on things that are both very timely and very much of this moment, and also things that are deeply enduring, that people can continue to lean into. And so I hope that helps set the stage for the conversation we'll get to have over the next 20 minutes with our friends here and guests, and however you think of your relationship to us, and then for future conversations after that.
Thanks, Dan. Briefly before, as we turn over, just so for people that may need to leave. There's a few questions in there. I see 4 questions. Please take a minute and keep going with your with some more questions. You know, if you're interested in, you listen to what Miriam shared and you're thinking, man, I'd like to do that with my organization. We are thrilled to be partnering with NextGenU in helping organizations take on that step to really start your AI playbook. Our core offering is really focused around a quarter-long exercise to get you started, to begin with an initial strategy engagement to align on how it contributes to your mission. What is the goal that you want to have for it? What is your readiness to harness this? Are you ready to have the kinds of team alignment and move toward the kinds of things that Miriam talked about are necessary for this to really take off and get advantage from it? And what's involved in establishing governance and risk and compliance practices? And that then sets us up to really understand how AI abilities map to what your capabilities are and where it is, identify where it is to start. And that then sets us up to basically define and launch an optimization pilot to use AI in order to start generating return on investment right away and give you an opportunity to practice that. And those are all things that we would love to work with you to help increase the impact of organizations. And you can reach us at clarity@understandinggroup.com. So let's go ahead and move to Q&A now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and bring up the questions here. We've got 4 questions, so we'll start at the top. Jordan asks, how has AI improved nursing education around the world, in your view?
I'm not sure about that big question, but I can tell you how it's improved nursing education in our organization at NextGenU and at Nurses International, who are in partnership together to do the nursing content. We have a MedSurg 1 course that we just published, and that course is very, very large, over 80 PowerPoints. It has, I think, 400 to 500 questions in the question bank, many case studies, and it took us a year to create that course. We've started MedSurg 2, and within a matter of months, we're very far along in its development. And we're finding that when these online courses, when they go live, we're having a doubling right now, a doubling every month of users for the nursing content. And so it's worth, it's worth it when you're having that much use to spend a year in development and make sure your product's good. But we really need to get the whole bachelor's program done, and we need to get it done soon. And so we're planning to leverage AI to make that happen. And I think we'll have MedSurg 2 done by the end of Q1 of this year. So a drastically shortened time frame.
So kind of two questions kind of related, both from Anya, just in regards to process and development. And in particular, talk a little bit about your relationship to your local partners, in terms of are they, I guess the question is, do you capacitize your partners to do this kind of work with you, alongside you as you do the curriculum development? Her group collaborates with diverse partners in many different countries and works side by side curriculum. Is this your model, or do you do the work and then your local partners review?
It completely depends on the partners and what they want. So nothing brings us more joy than to teach the partners how to do it for themselves. However, it depends. It does kind of depend on our deadlines and our funding and the goals of our funders. So if the goal of the funder is capacity building, that's our focus. If the goal of the funder is product and testing and research, then we do that. But I think that when we talk to our partners, they say things like, I never imagined I would get to do work like this. And that's, I don't know, it's wonderful to teach our partners how to do this co-creative process. And almost everything that we develop, I don't want to say everything because I know it's dangerous to make those kinds of statements, but almost everything we develop is a co-creative process.
Great. So question from Wilson on how can we mitigate biases in algorithms used in education to ensure fair and unbiased learning experiences for all students?
So this is why we have anthropologists on our team, and we have a multidisciplinary team, and also why we always want, in healthcare we talk about frontline workers, but in teaching and education we talk about the teachers and the students. We want to have the materials evaluated by a broad range of experts, but also those frontline users. And I think that there are better and more sophisticated ways to root out bias inside the algorithms itself. That's beyond me because I don't create AI. But what I can do is ensure that what's put out by the AI is looked at very, very carefully. I think that when we start getting into using AI that holds the student and knows what the student knows and tracks with the student through an entire program, that it's going to become even more important to manage bias and to ensure that the programmers of the AI are interacting and accountable to the public and to interdisciplinary teams that can put input into that process. And just like the federal government in the United States, when it's putting out policies and guidance, it often has a commenting period. There can be thousands of comments. We need something that's kind of like that for generating AI that's available and meant to be used by the public.
You've addressed this a little bit, but Fakar asks, what steps are taken to bridge the digital divide and ensure that AI-powered education is accessible to learners in underserved remote areas?
So this is a really important question. And one thing that's highly encouraging is if you just look at population in a refugee camp, between 40 to 60% of people in refugee camps have smartphones. So if you have a smartphone, you have access to AI. Now, there are a lot of barriers so that the airtime can be very expensive and cost prohibitive. So that's problematic. I'm hoping that as we're seeing more and more internet satellites coming on board online, that the price of internet connection will decrease. However, I just want to mention that many research studies have shown the enormous benefits of particularly young children having paper and having real books. And so it's what you generate with the AI and then how you produce it. So it can be produced in a physical space. Just because it's digitally generated, you can still produce that in a physical space. And so I think that's a partial answer.
Yeah. Monique wants to know what do you do to ensure academic integrity when you're integrating these AI tools?
So you kind of have to think of the AI like a very junior member of your team. And just like you would never, if you have someone new to your team who's, just out of school, you're not going to tell them, go write a textbook and then we're going to publish it. You're going to ask them to do a highly specific task and then you're going to do a lot of review. And so anything that AI generates is just like what an intern on your team would generate, and how many rounds of review and scrutiny that would go through before it ever made it to the public. And so I think if you don't think about AI as being able to generate a final product, but using AI as a tool, language tool, to generate a draft that has to go through the same scrutiny that anything else would in your organization, that you're going to have a lot of safety right there.
Yeah, thank you. I think we get time for at least one more question, or maybe a couple more. So there's still time to get some in. If you have to leave, please do take a minute and fill out the survey that that pops up as you go. We'd love to get your feedback on that. So with all this attention on AI, what is your recommendation on where people begin? Is it looking at their strategy to see where AI might fit in, or to look at their gaps to see if AI fills in the gaps? Is it strategy driven or problem driven? Interesting question.
Well, I think it might be governance driven. I think there's a lot of angles and approaches. I would say if we're talking about workplace use of AI, you need to look at your workplace's policies if they have them on AI use. Particularly if you're working with sensitive material. Our material's open access and on the internet, unless we're creating something that's very specific for a partner. And so we have a lot of freedom there. But if you're doing things that don't have that type of access, you really need to be very choosy about which engines that you use and which AI tools you use.
Yeah. And we would love to partner with people to help them work through those processes. As you say, it's going to be unique to your situation, and sometimes having an external set of eyes to get a perspective on what your real capacity is, and are you really ready to take this on, and to balance out the different voices, and to help everybody get aligned as to what can we do with this. I really was struck by the discussions that you had with your team around some of their fears around, not, is it going to take my job, or am I going to get blamed when it's wrong? And just really working through those things and facilitating those kinds of discussions, the kind of thing we would love to be able to do. So another question around that: how do you plan to navigate potential cultural or regulatory barriers in different regions when deploying AI technologies in education? I think to some degree you mitigate that, because I would say that you're not really deploying the AI as much as using it in the background in order to produce specific generative, normal non-AI materials that leverage humans. But I imagine you've talked about using it for grading and other types of ways to advance it. Where do you see things going in terms of how you're going to balance all the different patchwork of culture and regulatory barriers?
Well, we're committed to compliance with the regulatory authorities wherever we're working. So that's first and foremost. But we're also committed to working with those authorities to empower all of our stakeholders. And I think that we're at a fascinating time in history where people haven't made up their minds yet. And there's openness and there's fear, but there's a space to speak into the conversation. And so I'm really excited about what organizations like the Understanding Group and others, what role that you guys will have in helping governments, institutions create their policies around AI use.
Great. We've got a few more minutes. Where do you think, what's next for NextGenU? How do you see this evolving in your
We
use of
want to
AI?
create a textbook creation machine, and we want to create textbooks. There's about 80 low or low middle income countries globally. Maybe they don't all need textbooks, but every country that needs hyper localized, high quality textbooks, we want to make them. We also want to support educational institutions globally by creating what I call global basic education, especially in healthcare, so that these institutions that are often struggling, they can put their resources towards other pieces instead of having to generate the basic curriculum. They can then adapt it. They can and they can contextualize it with or without our help. But that's really what we are moving towards as quickly as we can.
Great. And it seems like you've used it primarily around generating using the language aspects of it, or have you also used the more the artistic, stable diffusion types of things in order to create imagery or diagrams yet, or is it not quite to the point where that's practical?
We use it in research, we use it for fuzzy matching. I've used it to analyze budgets. We definitely use it artistically. Our entire team is in love. Even our medical doctors, like, they're constantly sending pictures they've generated with the AI. And so we don't use just one AI tool. We use many, we use everything we can get our hands on, like, at least creatively in a safe environment before it's deployed. But we're really excited about the new tools that are available.
Yeah, good. And so we have a question from Richard. Have you developed a business case for funders that quantifies how much more impact, yield that you can deliver by leveraging AI? You started to get to this a little bit, but maybe you can unpack that a little bit more.
Yes, we are in the process of doing that. We have several concept notes we've been asked to provide, and we're planning to do that next week. I haven't had time because I've been prepping for this webinar, but that's our next step.
And the promise is really significantly more focused curriculum, or tailored curriculum. And I really loved the thing that I think that really stands out to me about the story is as opposed to, hey, everybody, here's this AI machine that can help you get help, and now let's get together and do work. It's, let's put the machine in between us all, and let's talk together about how we want to do work, and how can these machines help us at these steps as a group. And aligning together, I think that's the difference between getting the 40% gain that Boston Consulting Group got, and the 300%, right? 225% 300, over threefold productivity gain in what you got. And that I think is so cool, and such a key thing to driving that, and just seeing the joy that was in the face of your team, thinking about how much more they were able to do with this technology than they had in the past. But yet it's not about the technology as much as about the combination of that with your people and then the processes that you sit around to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that. One last question that slipped in here. So AI is still undergoing fine-tuning. How sure are you that the stuff you get from AI is good for the student?
Not at all. And that's why we have such
a
rigorous review process with many levels of review before anything ever touches our students. Now we are experimenting with Quizlet's AI. But when we use Quizlet's AI, we upload all of our own materials. It allows you now to do that, so that the AI is only giving information from our materials. And I think that's really helpful. But as far as the children that our STEPS project impacts, nothing ever gets to them unless it's been just very rigorously reviewed.
Part of what I love about your whole approach is that increasing the quality, and including just the quality of the materials, the amount of educational theory informing it, well-established educational theory, but also just the localization and the representation, that those are non-negotiables. And so you're getting all of these efficiency gains, and you're turning a lot of that into things that really genuinely empower everyone within your stakeholder group. So I love that. And I think that's a first principle that people need when they integrate this stuff.
Well, you guys have held us accountable throughout this process, and I can't overstate how important that is as you're going through this, especially when you have people on your team who are very innovative and really want to push. And then also when you have people who are really scared. In both cases, you really need to stay centered and focused on an ethical framework that guides you through the process.
Well, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, everybody that stuck around. Fill out the survey, and you'll get a follow-up note from us with a link to the recording and the show notes with the slides and the references that we had. And we would welcome the opportunity to talk to you, follow up about anything, any follow-up questions. You want to get questions to Miriam, we'd be happy to pass them on. Just reach out to clarity@understandinggroup.com. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Thank you.
Appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Bye.